The more we read about Where Winds Meet before it was released, there was one question that kept us intrigued. What type of game would it be? Is it an open-world single-player RPG or an MMO? Now that we finally got our hands on the game, we found that it's actually both. But how does it manage to distinguish between these two aspects? Does it actually do it well? Join us here in Game8 as we check out this new Wuxia action RPG, Where Winds Meet. The game is set in 10th century China, during the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms period, a time where power struggles and political intrigue pervade every corner of the land. The story wastes no time and drops you in an intense intro sequence as we follow an outcast named Jiang Yan, who is seen carrying a baby through the bamboo wilderness. Jiang Yan does his best to fend off his pursuers and protect the child at all costs. Why is that child so important? Well, after the intro sequence, we skip a few years later and find out that child is you. Well, your created character, that is. Now grown up, your character slowly starts to learn more about their place in the larger world around them and sets off to find out who they truly are. During the very first chapter of the game, we honestly felt like something was a bit off with the narrative played out. It almost felt disorienting, and we had trouble keeping up with who's who and what exactly we were supposed to care about. The thing is, as we got closer to the end of the chapter, we realized that this may have been intentional because, just like us, as the player started to feel lost with all that is happening, we came to realize that this is mirroring how the protagonist also feels, who is also feeling lost due to being thrown into a world that's much larger, harsher, and far more complex than they could have imagined. Then came Kaifeng, the second region of the game, and it was like someone threw open the windows as we saw how much the world widened, both literally and figuratively. Suddenly, the story wasn't about me acting on the world, it was about the world acting on me. The politics, the personal grief, the social decay, they all started to bleed into one another in a way that made the story feel alive. That isn't to say that the game's narrative doesn't have any shortcomings either, as there are still quite a few plot holes and loose threads that do hold the narrative back a bit. The gameplay for Where Winds Meet is an interesting combination of a single-player open-world ARPG and that of your typical MMO. You may wonder, how does that even work? Well, the game actually splits these two into its own separate modes. Let's start off with the one that players will most likely play first, and that is the single-player portion of the game. This mode plays out like your typical open-world action RPG, and this is also where you will be doing most of the progression for your character. You will partake in many quests and engage in activities that all make your character stronger. You know, standard RPG stuff. What makes Where Winds Meet a blast to play though is the engaging Wuxia combat system. While the game features mechanics found in ARPGs these days, like dodging and parrying, the way these are presented is so over the top and flashy that it makes each combat encounter so much fun to look at and play. The game also features many different weapon types to fit the way you want to play, from fast swinging dual swords to long reaching spears, and all of them come with their own flashy epic movesets as well. We ended up going with a one-handed sword and fan combo since it provided us both some offensive capabilities from the sword and some healing abilities from the fan. But honestly, do we need to say more about why we chose this weapon? So satisfying. The game encourages mastering your chosen weapons, as some encounters in this game can get a bit challenging. The boss fights in particular will challenge your knowledge of the game's mechanics, as they do get quite difficult, especially if you are unprepared for how to counter certain attacks. Aside from combat, there are so many ways to engage with the world, and we are not taking the word many lightly here. The game has quite a variety of activities for players to take part in, whether you want to challenge yourself with some combat or even just casually roam and explore the world. If you want to test out your mastery of the game's combat, you can choose to engage in your typical open world things, like clearing out enemy outposts or even challenging some roaming bosses, if the normal mobs are not enough of a challenge. And if you are the type to just want to get lost in the game's world, you are able to find fun side quests and solve some puzzles the more you explore the map. These aren't the only types of activities you can engage in, as there are even smaller mini-games for you to sink your time in. Some examples of these smaller activities are playing mahjong, which we spend way too much time on, or even pulling out your instrument to play a rhythm game. And this is just a small glimpse into how much you are able to do in this game. And if we try to list down all the things you can engage in, this video will end up being way too long due to the sheer amount of content featured in the game. Anyway, what is also great about this mode is that you are also able to invite some of your friends and engage in some jolly cooperation. This makes exploring the world less of a lonely experience, and they can even help you with your quests and activities too. Are you having trouble with some of the world bosses? Call in your friends to help. Want to tackle a dungeon together? You can do that too. Want to just engage in a random synchronized dance performance? Sure, you can also do that. We honestly had so much fun engaging in the game's many contents, and this is the perfect segue to start talking about the game's other mode, the MMO portion of the game. This mode is a completely separate mode and removes all the quests in favor of a more sandbox approach to exploring the game's world. It acts more as a social hub where you can meet other players, take on some bounties, or even engage in some PvP. Just like with how some MMOs are. We'd like to also mention that the game does feature a gacha system. Now, before you start telling us how gacha is bad, the game's gacha only features cosmetics, and the rest of the game is a purely free-to-play experience. So, you aren't really required to pull unless you want the outfit that the gacha provides. The game isn't without a few problems though, as we encountered quite a few bugs as well as some performance issues. The thing is that the overall experience was so much fun that we're honestly hooked on this game and are willing to overlook some of these technical issues. It just offers so much in terms of content that we just get lost in how much fun we had playing the game, whether by going alone or even messing around with friends. But let's be clear. If you're coming in expecting a massive, persistent MMO with endless raids and bustling cities, you might want to adjust your expectations. Where Winds Meet wears its RPG heart proudly. It's intimate, story-driven, and character-focused first. The MMO layer is there, yes, but it's more of a complement than a core. It's an RPG that invites you to slow down, to breathe, to listen, to exist in a world that feels beautifully ancient yet alive. And that, I think, is what sets it apart. And pairing that to all the characters, the stories, the tragedies, are the game's breathtaking visual art style. There are moments when you'll just stop moving as you stare in awe at how majestic the world's scenery looks. From the sun dipping behind the mountains, the glow of lanterns over Kaifeng's bridges, the soft mist clinging to the pines at dawn. It's like living inside a moving painting with each stroke a visual feast for the eyes. And then comes the cutscenes. Let me tell you, they're amazing to watch. While they are few and far between, they showcase some excellent choreography and cinematic framing to deliver a pure Wuxia elegance. All these, paired with stunning character models, animations, and environmental storytelling, create a living, breathing world that is both fun to look at and to immerse yourself in. The audio, on the other hand, is a bit of a mixed bag. While things like the combat effects and the music do a good enough job of immersing yourself into the world, there are some aspects of the audio that do the opposite. We encountered a few hiccups like audio that doesn't match the subtitles, to even some voice lines that play way too early into the scene.
Quit yapping and show me what you've got!
Who taught you this move?
It doesn't help that some of the voice line delivery falls a bit flat, especially in some of the more impactful scenes.
He says lots of things. Just because he says I know something, I should know it. Jiang disappeared several years ago. Why does he not find the man and ask him himself?
While not entirely game-breaking, it does take you out of the experience quite a bit and pulls you out from truly immersing yourself in the world of Where Winds Meet. Aside from its few technical issues, Where Winds Meet is a solid RPG that masterfully blends story, exploration, and character progression with light MMO elements. The combat is engaging, builds are flexible, and the world feels alive and immersive. While early story pacing, occasional audio hiccups, and a few technical bugs keep it from perfection, these are minor blemishes on an otherwise impressive experience. That's why we are giving it an 88 out of 100. So, what do you guys think of Where Winds Meet? Are you willing to give this new free-to-play RPG a try? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more gaming-related content. This has been Game8, and we'll see you in the next video.